I'm gonna set it up like this.
That's all you ever wear.
away, take earplugs off. We're still like in a school environment. This is not do your own thing, okay? All right? We expect you to be on your very best behavior. Very best. Better than best. Okay? All right? So listen up. You will have your talking time. You will have your socializing time. You will have lots of that. Okay? All right.
Good morning, Cheyenne High School students. Welcome to the William S. Boyd School of Law at UNLV, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. We are extremely excited to have you here. We know that you all are our future law students, our future undergraduate students, and future leaders of our country and our state. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all the things that you have done to prepare for today. Every year when I watch the students' presentations, I am so tremendously impressed at what you learn, what you know, and the presentations that you make. So we're excited. I want to tell you about the people who you'll meet today who are members of the law school or the university community. One of the people that you'll meet is our Dean Dan Hamilton. He'll be here a little bit later today. He had the opportunity to take his daughter to school today, as one does. And so he'll join us a little later in the day to greet you and talk with you a bit. We will have my colleague, Professor Sylvia Lassos, who is a constitutional law expert and also teaches other courses at the law school. We'll have Professor Sonia Watson, who grew up here in Las Vegas, went to UNR, and then came here for law school, and is now the director of our low-income tax clinic. You'll meet Patrick Naranjo from the Intersection. You will meet our students, Austin Barnum, a law student here at the law school. You will meet Caleb Green, a law student here at the law school. You will meet Ryan McConnell, a law student here at the law school. You'll meet Roman Reed, a law student here at the law school, and Jackson Wong, a law student here at the law school. What you'll notice is that people flow in and out because they're teaching classes, they're having meetings at the university. Right in the building next door, a lot of the law students are having classes right now. So people will come through as they can, have conversations with you, and we hope that you'll really enjoy the day. I also want to tell you that the students that you'll meet represent a selection, some of the student organizations we have here at the law school, and we have a lot of student organizations. All of them do their own programming, they get financial support from the school, and they also, as part of their student organizations, do community service projects. So among the student organizations that will be represented by the students you'll meet today are BALSA, the Black Law Students Organization, our Health Law Society, La Voz, OPALS, which is the Organization of Part-Time Students. You'll have an opportunity to get a sense of student life. This is our largest classroom. It's a moot court. As you're going out, you may want to walk through the other side or take a glance. There we have it actually set up like a courtroom. Students attend a trial advocacy class in this classroom, and we have some of our biggest events in this room where you'll be presenting today. So just a couple of days ago, we had some of our judges and our legislators and attorneys in private practice doing a panel on diversity in law right here in this room, where some of you will be standing in the front of the room presenting today in that same place. So it's an exciting moment. Remember, we're filming. We've got film running the whole time, and your team is also doing a documentary. So we all want to do things that we'd love to have represented on film. That means just step to the side if you want to have a personal conversation, right? Not have that on film. And now I am incredibly pleased to hand off to the fantastic principal with whom I've had the opportunity to work 5 years doing this program each year, bringing Cheyenne students out to the law school and to UNLV to talk about the flow of the day. Dr. Robbins?
Students, this is an absolute pleasure and honor to be here at the Boyd School of Law. This project started 5 years ago. Professor Anderson and I met at a youth and justice workshop where we were teaching students how to interact with police officers and how police officers can interact with students so that folks understood each other. It's the same youth and justice workshop that we had at Cheyenne High School not too long ago. So we just got to talking and we said, hey, you know, perhaps we can work together on a project in which we teach kids about their voting rights. And we literally left the main room, went into a conference room, and the rest was history. We planned the cases, we started talking about the flow of the day, and we came up with what has evolved into our collaboration, and we're so proud of what has evolved after all of these years, 5 years of fantastic, fantastic collaboration between the Clark County School District and the Boyd School of Law. So for the day, we're going to have you all interacting. You all have been in your classes with your fantastic Cheyenne High School teachers working on the case studies and actually learning about the laws that are applicable to those case studies. Today, you're going to have an opportunity to share what you've learned in class and actually talk with our students here at the Boyd School of Law to just bounce ideas about those cases off of them. You're going to have an opportunity to tour the campus. You're going to have an opportunity to talk with admissions. You're going to have an opportunity to visit the dining hall and eat today. We're going to come back, and then you're going to make your presentations before distinguished guests. And of course, all of us here in the moot court room. This is a fantastic day. This is the picture of school-university partnership. And I'm just so thankful to Professor Anderson, Dean Hamilton, and all of our friends at Cheyenne, our teachers, and of course our superintendent for allowing us to make this happen. So everyone, we're going to make this a fantastic day, and welcome to the Boyd School of Law. Thank you so much. The thing that we're going to do is we're going to start our transition to small groups. So Professor Anderson, I'm thinking we should have 3 or 4 groups here in the moot court room, and then should we actually have people out here in the hall or use the room on the side? What would you prefer?
Whatever's most comfortable. So there's the jury area works for this group here.
Right.
We have seats out here, which work for the second group out here.
Yeah.
A third group, there are seats along the wall. They're not as comfortable, but we have these seats that we can move around. So we're able to move these seats wherever we think, either in that room, here, or in the hallway, whatever we think is going to be most efficient and comfortable.
So let's do this. Let's separate every class in half. So we'll end up with, let's say, 8 groups. Let's see if we can start with 3 of 3. Let's try 4 groups in here. Actually, let's try 3 groups in here, 2 groups in the lower chambers area out here, and then the rest out here in the hall. So teachers, why don't you all get together and figure out where you want your groups to meet so we can have everything organized. Students, relax. Talk softly amongst yourselves, get your materials together, and soon we'll start to
There's no point.
Why did they do that? They keep catching. Right here?
Seats up back. Alright, guys and gals. Eyes and ears up here. On the way.
So you already just met me. You know, I'm a professor here at the law school. But of course, I'm also a former law student. So we have a very close, right?
Hi everyone, my name is Rights. I'm a law student here. In my former life, a little bit about myself. I went to the University of Nevada, as you know. And I went back to school to be a teacher. I was a social studies teacher for 5 years, and just kind of did class backs and kind of wanted to get you all quiz, blah, blah, blah.
Did you all do the same study?
And then I decided just this last year, 8 months ago or so, to come back to school again and go to law school. So I'm a first year law student here. Not really sure what I want to do with it. I think I'm going to work some kind of policy, some kind of policy for the university, whatever I need. And since I was former teacher,
Did everyone do that same one?
talk with you guys.
Okay, what else did you do?
Hear what this is about. I think it's really cool because when I was in school, we wrote that.
You may have to talk slightly louder just because
The coolest thing to do
the
is
law
make
students
sure I'm Canadian rule of thumb here.
where,
It was weird.
you know,
But,
feel
so
the
this
elders
is really
were denied
So,
the right
I
to
guess we can start off with any questions you have for me, or if one of you wants to
also
tell me
when
about
the
your
elders
case that you're doing.
couldn't speak or
Be happy to hear it.
was denied the right to have some translation.
Any questions first?
And were those voting rights violations? Yes. Thank you. That's
Anything-
two cases. All right. Okay, great. So what was the experience like? Did it
I'll do my best. Yeah.
like something you could do it again? Now that you know how to do it? So that's what a law school exam is like. It's a story about something that happened, and then you take the laws and you apply them to that story, and you determine whether or not people are following the law, not following the law, and you think about how to change the law. Did any of you make recommendations for things to do to prevent those violations in the future?
Also in Susan's study in Ohio when people have certain other speaking their Spanish
I hear you now.
Yes. Great, excellent. And that's actually something that comes up when people look at the issues of language. They want to make sure there's actually no machines for people to have to break one line waits for 3 hours and the other one's only 10 minutes. You are allowed machines, that's exactly right. Some suggestions for changes?
All right, keep going. Anyway, so, all right, so.
Did you also think about, and you might not have written about this, but did you think about why those rules were there? So the goals that the specific laws were trying to achieve? So if you did, that's an additional level to your analysis, because then you're thinking about the policy, right? The reasons that we make certain types.
So what is, so you guys have,
So now you all are 12th graders, right?
statute.
So
what are
anybody
the
thinking
NRS
about going to
state
college?
What are the rules with?
Okay, right, there's lots of paths you can choose in life, so you don't have to choose that one. Obviously, I'm here, so I think that was, especially great, because we might see you here on campus. What kind of majors are you thinking about, or do you not know yet? Wow, okay, excellent.
So what did the NRS statute say about translation? What are the
Oh,
issues?
yay, okay, look me up in law school, so I know you're here now. Ooh, excellent, all right. Hey, these are great majors, what a range.
And then I'm going to make
And
it
does it say who is required?
fantastic because I love
Excellent. Other thoughts about it, or you sort of like, I'll get there first and see what it looks like? Let me see what it looks like first. That's good too, right? There's so many options out there. Sometimes people know what they want to do, but other times, even if you thought you knew what you wanted to do, you get to college and see the different options. I never thought I would be an attorney. Never occurred to me. Wasn't even on my radar. I just wanted to go to college and finish. That was my goal. I mean, honestly, right? I didn't have a plan. I was like, go, and then I will finish.
So what
And
is
then
it
I got to
telling
the
me
end, I was
that
like, well, what will I
you
do
have
now?
a couple of
And I
NRS
just started
statutes,
talking to people.
one that
and said,
says
well, what are
that
the
you're
options?
able
And
to,
are there more
someone
degrees
with
you
a
can
disability
get?
is
And
able to
like,
get.
if I'm going to go to college, I might as well get all the things you can get before I stop.
They're required to get.
And they were like, oh, yes, you could
translation,
go. You could actually go
And
be a
then,
doctor, you could be an engineer, or a lawyer, right, for advanced degrees. And I was like, oh. And I talked to some of my friends, and they were like, oh, we thought you were obvious.
And then he gave me
Like,
that.
the way you act, you need to be a lawyer. And I was like, what does that mean? But it's true, right? I really enjoy the analysis, and I care about the rules, right? And the way the rules make it fair for
So
everyone.
what are some of
So that
the
was a place that was interesting.
main issues of the translation that we're looking at? What are some of your, do you guys make arguments about what we're looking at?
So I'm going to ruthlessly, oh, I guess this is additional students are here. Okay. So nope, you're waiting for the last students are here. Fair enough. I understand that. All right. Well, then here's what we'll do. I'm going to let you talk amongst yourselves for a moment, because you're going to get to hear a lot from me today. And I'm going to check the other rooms, and then I'm going to rotate people over. All right.
So what are some of the arguments that you're making?
Whoever gets the best answers, well, let's see. Okay, so, congrats. These guys seem
Okay, so, this is both of yours.
Hello, everybody. Second year, and so I'm here to answer questions.
We did all three, like, they should know. Oh, this is the lawsuit. Gotcha. No.
So not everyone had cards. Is there an statute that says there?
So how many of you
their transportation or polling station within a certain area?
No, 5 is a
Question over here.
No, I have it.
Oh, yeah, next, go ahead.
So for us, not have a driver's license or a driver's license, finish the car, so we're not allowed to use
the concept of.
You guys didn't have their identification card? What's the law say about that?
I think that's exciting, right? That's an attractive part of it. You know, being able to speak up. If you're somebody who enjoys fighting, to be able to fight or things like that, right?
So does that mean that that is some kind of voter ID law? Is that what you're talking about?
I think that more from like a social utility perspective, there's a benefit for individuals being invested in the legal process and also in the political process because that's where the change comes in our society. So in Nevada, we have a really unique political process here.
And what other, aside from a photo ID, how would you show that?
Places where you have, career politicians who work within the legislature. So here we have a legislative session that usually occurs
And is that if you're
so
registered?
in between sessions is when the
So you have to be registered.
all of the
And do you know when,
states of
at what point you have to register for the board?
Anybody who is from anywhere can show up and can participate. There's always a comment section for the people before you vote, who work in the British work and live here. So that's a unique thing because it's designed for people who have a passion for one particular area.
So I'm not too sure on that. Okay, that may not be covered, that would be something.
Like a state senate position.
Because I believe I remember
And move on
voting.
with life and do something else.
I don't know if it was in a primary or not, but you're able to register and go voting for the process.
But especially at law school.
No, that's good. So even if you're registered, you still need some form of identification.
Getting the opportunity to be focused.
So if you do need some form of identification, is there really an issue with voting rights according to the NRS statute? Or do you think that is an issue even if it isn't technically against the law and should that person still have been allowed to vote?
So can somebody show me?
Yeah, it was kind of a three-part question. Yeah, so number one, is that against the law? Deny the person. But do you see that as a problem in your opinion? No, you think that's okay.
So who can tell me something about it?
I know in general.
So what about voting? Like, is it about like a threat that's coming to voting rights or?
That brought up the issues to and we were told to read it and have a violation
So based on
So
that.
you definitely see that as wrong. Okay.
So what did you learn about like?
So what else in this scenario, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, what in this scenario that happened that is legal,
valid even if you don't have a.
do you think is a problem? Is there anything you see that happened here that you think should be changed, there should be new laws about?
There's somebody else.
So you're good with that? Okay. Yeah, do you think it should be photo ID or are you good with that kind of birth certificate, security card?
I'm old, so I worked for some long time. So I don't really remember what exactly happened.
So he's saying, and this is a very good argument for Tom that you need you should need a photo ID. Okay. What if you're a senior citizen, you haven't been to the driver's license, you haven't had to drive for years, and yeah.
Well, the states, I think the states control a lot of. And
Never
that
left
was
the country.
kind of the debate with the current, like, restrictions.
Okay, that doesn't have your photo. I don't know.
All these people who are not eligible to vote.
Well, yeah. Never went to school. I really didn't see all that.
Is under the, I mean, obviously, but the voting process in each state is by the states. It's how we get approach to the government office of America. Have state you have option to go. In theory, as much as they can actually get a card, just having one local and it makes control for like the people that live in the a lot better because it's our control. But when you have a state legislature like we have that,
And then, we talk about this. The problem I have in this case is different than any other case because you're talking about Native Americans on the reservation.
so the thing about
You're talking about that the government has a responsibility. The government has a responsibility. Their ID has to be government issued.
so,
It should be
you know, a lot of times
tribe, and any tribe ID they have.
I mean, they're like really touching nerves.
There are a lot of very
Like literally,
case of coincidence that are very different
to
than
me,
two.
I was so
You have to look at the
you have a setback.
Donnell Jackson,
Six,
Nelson Hernandez.
you know,
This is
like
way
when I was
different
younger, I didn't
because you're talking about
and
not what I would
because
call
I had
capital
kids,
economy,
I went to
but
community college.
there are people who are put in a specific place
Just
for a specific reason, and the government maintains.
$12 an hour, and I couldn't
And they have
So
different
I
regulations,
went to
different
community
forms
college,
of
CSN,
any
and
other government.
Right.
nursing degree for, it served me quite well.
But in this case,
I
would it
worked
really be a
at
violation because he could.
various hospitals, and I functioned with a social degree.
So what about that? Was he issued the travel ID and he just didn't have one? Or was he not issued?
It said whoever orders the number of license for
So eventually I went, there's been a push for nurses to get bachelor's. So I went to an online school.
Did you guys look into anything about how difficult it is to get travel IDs if they're online? Was there a statute?
I happened to just kind of my wife one day and said, oh, why don't you go to law school?
So you all kind of went through the writing process, right? The IRAC, what is it? Where you come to
Oh, I was in Washington.
So you kind of gone through the issue a little bit. Did you look at other cases? Did you guys go get into case studies?
Go ahead. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I should.
Yeah, with voting rights.
I don't know how
where
much
you
louder it
basically
is.
looking at statutes.
But I'll try.
Statutes.
So after one like online for a bachelor's degree, then I just studied for the LSAT for a little bit. I took it, and at the time there was I don't know if you guys have heard. There's a case called Fisher versus Texas. So when you go into law school, they can do certain things called soft targets. So like right now is a good time for you to get involved in like just start doing like a political campaign, be a volunteer. Go get signatures somewhere. Start doing things like within the community. Because law schools can use a combination of what they call hard targets, which are your GPA, your entrance exam scores. Sometimes like what particular degree you had is kind of I don't know if that's hard or soft, but the soft targets are the ones that differentiate people who maybe have had a path that's not traditional.
So there's
if you happen to be a concert pianist, that's sort of like soft target.
Presumably, if you're
A volunteer for a particular nonprofit.
Presumably, if you're
that's a
living
soft
in a
target.
reservation
If you
and
are
you're
part of an
within that
ethnic
community,
minority, that's
you
a
would
soft
know a
target
little bit
because
about the process.
the idea is that the law school
So
creates
skipping ahead a little bit, what was,
profession
did you kind of come to a conclusion at that?
So if you have
So
all
what was
black
our
men,
overall
and those are all lawyers in the entire United States, then the law will be crafted around the perspective of all black men. But if you have a combination from all spectrum of American society, then the law will begin to reflect what the demographics of America is like. So the concept for a lot of law schools, they want to take people from all different, we have people here colleges, we have people who are software engineers, we have people who are the fire chief of Henderson Fire. So there's all kinds of people who are sought after from different backgrounds in order to make the legal community.
So if anyone here is interested in politics or law, and they're scared of like the LSAT of testing, if they built up kind of those soft target credentials, they would still have a chance to make it.
Especially at a law school like Boyd. So here in Southern Nevada, diversity is a very important thing. UNLV is
So this should be so hard.
Division I school in the nation. I teach a undergrad course here, a seminar course for undergrad, and like 75% of the students that I have are either first generation students, minority students, and it's a really cool thing. So for UNLV, diversity is very important, and public work and things like that are very important. If you decide that you want to stay in Vegas, I would just begin to do whatever trying to, if somebody has a passion for something that you're doing that you like, that helps other people. So whether you're into art, there's art projects that helps, people
like
who
we have a
are
conversation
elderly.
We all here.
Dance,
Guys,
for kids.
sorry, they're bumping me.
Youth programs. So whatever it is that you have a passion for, put out this, you need to use
Good
that.
luck with the presentation, so I'll be able to watch it.
But anyway, so eventually,
But good luck, it's great to meet you.
like I took LSAT, and the LSAT's a test that's designed for you to learn about the test, so programs and things like that.
Then it sounds like you guys are talking about.
Improve your understanding of the test are really important. And I think that's kind of a barrier for some people who don't have the finances to invest into my programs that kind of prevents them from being able to do the best that they can.
Take your farewell.
Thank you.
My turn. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan McConnell. I'm a first-year law student here. A little bit of my background: I went to University of Nevada originally, long ago for my undergrad, and then I went back to school and I was actually became a teacher. So I was a social studies teacher until about 8 months ago. So kind of have a flashback. I wanted to come here and see if I could still actually talk to high school students, and so far it's going okay. But yeah, and then I decided to come back and go to law school. So I've been in college a lot for the last 15 years or so. I don't recommend it. If you can pick a career that you really like and go for that, it's much less expensive that way. And you get it kind of what you like. But I'm super interested in law and super interested in what you guys are doing. I don't know what exactly he talked to you about. I kind of went over the case with them, but I don't just want to repeat myself over and over again. So, do you all have any questions for me about law school, or about what you're doing, or about what you want to do, life in general? What it's like to be over 30? How many times did I go back to college? So this is my third time. I mean, not my third time back, my second time back. So I originally went, and I went back and to get my teaching degree, and then I'm coming back again. And I told my wife this is the last time. I promised her that. So I better become a lawyer.
Very indecisive.
Am I very indecisive? We're getting deep.
You know, it just seems like because me, like I want to do that, like I want to go back to college, because I have multiple things that I want to do. So are you indecisive?
I wouldn't say I'm indecisive. I'd say I am. I'm interested in a lot of different things, and I want to do a lot. So I originally graduated in business, and I had to go out and I had to learn that hey, business wasn't for me. And then I always wanted to give back, so to say. I wanted to do some kind of public service. So that's why I wanted to be a teacher. And then as I got more into teaching, I loved it. But again, I wanted to do something else. I wanted to try out something else. So I mean, getting a law degree though, I don't want to go and become a doctor after this. In law, man, I was a U.S. history teacher before, so I've always been interested in government and history. And then as a teacher, you can really see the policy, the education policy that's kind of handed down to all the schools through administration, through the people that make the laws. I decided that I wanted to be on the side of forming the laws that help the teachers, help all of you learn, and not just in education, but in other areas too. So I just wanted to come at it from a different point of view, I guess. You know, I haven't narrowed it down. It is my first year, and I've heard stories of law students coming in and saying, oh, I want to go be a JAG in the Army, and then they end up working in corporate law, and they love it. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think I would want to work in corporate law. That's just me. I'm thinking that I want to do something in government, something, like I said, policy related, where I'm helping to shape the laws, to work with others, to speak with real people, and kind of see how the laws affect them, and kind of come up with real common sense things that, you know, aren't overburdening you, but are helping you out too. You know, and fixing problems. I always like to do kind of the cleanup stuff. My wife, she makes the dinner, she makes the mess in the kitchen, and I always kind of clean it up. So I kind of think of myself that way. Yeah, you know, maybe it's time. You know, that's it. You know, I'm not sure. Maybe I am indecisive. Huh? Yes. Yeah. No, and my sister actually just graduated from law school up in Oregon, and she just took the bar exam. So it's no joke. We have former students up in the library right now studying for it in a couple of weeks. Do you have questions?
Yeah. So do you specialize in like your fields of law during law school, or is it after?
You can kind of. It's not quite as direct as a lot of you will see in college, I'm sure. You have kind of your first 2 years where you can kind of play around a little bit and kind of choose a direction, but you don't have to super choose where you're going. In law school, you kind of get that for the first year. So you can kind of, right now you take mostly general classes that everyone takes, and starting your second year, so you kind of start to direct yourself where you want to go. You look at different classes and say, what's interesting to me? And you kind of have to start to make choices, and you kind of push yourself towards something. But the bar exam that he was talking about, in order to get licensed in Nevada or any state to practice law, you have to know a fair amount about everything. So you're qualified to go into any kind of law, but definitely if I wanted to go into gaming law or tribal law or be a defense attorney, there's certain different classes that I would take to learn how to go to trial, how to fight for Native American tribes, or how to deal with gaming companies. You know, so you definitely direct yourself.
In their native language, because they're on the reservation. And again, they're a kept population. So we understand that they're a kept population, and they're kept by the U.S. government. There's the U.S. government's job to make sure
get involved. Number one, we have a lot. You know, law students. There's a lot of people from a variety of backgrounds, which is really cool. So, like business degree. If you know you're interested in it, you can go into criminal justice and undergrad, and that will take you there. All political science majors too. So if you know it's something you're interested in, just go for it. Just go for it with that in mind, that I'm going to work really hard for the next 4 years, run for student government, and pick something that you're passionate about, and do that, because that's what it's all about. That's the really cool thing about going to law school and being a lawyer, is if you're really passionate about law in a specific area, that's what you get to do. Like, I was sitting in class, and it's a grind sometimes, going through it. You all know, sitting in classes, it can be a grind. You have homework, you come back, you go to school, you go home, you do homework, and you repeat over and over again. But I was sitting there the other day, and I was just like, man, we're talking about the Constitution, and that's just something that I'm really passionate about. That's really cool. to me. So if you know where you want to go, then pick that direction. And if you don't, that's okay. And if you end up later in life thinking, this is what I want to do and I think I can do it, don't be afraid to do it. I waited a couple of years and now I'm one of the older law students because I was out working, which is a great experience. But if you know you want to do something or you think you want to try it, don't be afraid to do it. I guess that's the advice. Don't sit back because years go by.
It's a long process that it has to go through.
Okay.
Like, since you still don't know about that constitution, or you the right constitution to get the action plan that you want.
I am when you ask questions like that, my social studies teacher kicks in and I want to go non-biased with it. No, but I don't have to do that. You guys don't care. No, I am a living constitution. I think the original intent is really important, and you should look to that. But I also believe that there's so many things that the founders could never have foreseen. Like, for example, in this might get a little boring for all of you, but I don't care. In constitutional law, the whole last 2 weeks we've been talking about the Commerce Clause, which is regulation of business between the states, essentially. And the original founders didn't say anything about manufacturing, they didn't say anything about agriculture, and an original list of the Constitution would say, well, the founders didn't say anything about these two industries, so how can we consider them commerce? Well, we didn't have manufacturing when the founders were around. We had Benjamin Franklin with bifocals sitting in the library with his, they wrote with goose feathers, you know? So there was no manufacturing. They had no idea that all of a sudden the world would go through this crazy industrial revolution 100 years later. And then you look at agriculture on the other side, and you know, a lot of the big states during the founding were slave states. And if you're regulating agriculture, what are you regulating? Slavery, which they obviously didn't want to do. So you have to kind of look at the original intent, but also take it with that's just my point. You have to kind of look to the future and say, what we're going to do now. And I don't know if you agree with that, but that's kind of the way I look at it.
She's been trying to talk, she didn't go.
Any other questions?
Here's your
I like those kind of
mom.
questions.
Go ahead.
Because I don't have to hold back, I'm not teaching.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember Wickard versus Filburn? The Wickard versus Filburn. Are you familiar with the case?
Yes, remind me. Is that
With just Commerce Clause, he grew wheat, yeah, and then got taxed on it. I was just wondering your thoughts on that then, because you guys remember the wheat case with Filburn? Here you go, here's someone who knows the law much better than I do.
Yeah, so we kind of moved, we went through Wickard, and then we kind of moved forward into, there's like different eras of the Commerce Clause. So there was the era before Wickard where it was like anything or nothing goes, and then Wickard came along and it's like, oh, a lot more stuff will go, and then now the court's kind of moving back to, you know, not as much can be regulated. I think for me, I think there is a balance to be struck. It is hard to say that you can regulate someone for doing something in their own home, but the rule they use in Wickard is that if everyone does it, if it's taken into aggregate, if everyone grew wheat in their own home, then there would be no need for a wheat market and prices would go crazy and that would be the issue. So I think that is something to take into account. But I think there's you have to be kind of realistic. And I think the court generally does a pretty good job of that. With the range of conservative and liberal justices, which take different sides on some of these issues, it's kind of surprising. There's some cases where a justice writes an opinion and like, that was a really good argument. I never thought I would agree with you, Chief Justice. But no, so I think there's a definite balance, and for the time period during the Great Depression, I think Wickard probably was the right balance. What's my zodiac sign? I'm Aquarius.
I thought you were
okay. My study partner does that too. She's like, it's it's because you're embarrassed. Yeah? Okay. Normally I'm very quiet, it's just when I get going, I get going.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. So she asked me about the gay couple and the big difference.
Perfect.
And how I feel about it. I feel like, I like these tough questions. I haven't read the case. Is there an actual case in it?
Yes.
There is. Have you guys read the case?
Yeah, it's for the, a bigger, Mr. Baker is not as big a
We're waiting on the decision.
So there's no decision yet. Are you rotating again? Let me answer this question real quick because I don't want to leave it. So I think.
I see like on social media how people.
They sued him. See, I haven't read any kind of case on it, so grain of salt there. I just know what I've heard in the news. I do. Again, I always aim for some kind of balance. You don't want to discriminate against people for who they are, who they love. And so there has to be a line drawn with that. On the other hand, private businesses generally have some kind of right to refuse business to people. I don't know the law on that, but when you're starting to get private businesses to do things that they wouldn't normally do, or that they don't want to do for their business, I think it's getting deep into the right. I think it's getting deep. But I can definitely see the other side of it. So I'm interested to see what the court comes out with, because I haven't read the case and I don't know that much about it. But that's kind of on the surface my thinking on it. I don't have a strong opinion, but I do think that you have to protect rights. And you also have to think about
What's being established right now is still
the business side of it. It's a tough question to handle. Hope I didn't ruin everything there. Thank you all. They're telling me I have to move on.
Mr. Khan, you're so cool.
guys have a different pace than the other groups?
We all got different,
Yeah, all three. Oh, okay. Okay. So my name's Jackson. I'm 1L, first year law student here. Anybody interested in going to law school eventually? One? Maybe on the way. How about political science? Anyone think about doing political science? What do you want to do?
Can I ask real quick, so, first of all, my name is Austin, I don't know what y'all are talking about, and I would like to help.
Anybody
moderate
want
the conversation and provide.
Anybody want to do anything in regards to
I know this young lady
politics
in
or
wants to speak, so could you please give
legislation?
me 30-second, like, 30-second, what is this
One, two?
conversation about?
One, two?
And then
This is
provide
the government class?
I'm not going to require
So only two people are interested. Everybody else is just taking for graduation.
Well, I find it interesting.
Okay, so how y'all generation can get involved to make the changes that you want to see in our nation? How?
There's multiple ways of doing it. You could do it under economic theory as well. Everybody want to talk about the case that they had? I don't really have the facts. You guys want to continue to talk about? In my undergrad, I majored in political science, minored in philosophy and economics. Eventually, hopefully, in the term.
So it's a question of,
No, I'm
whether or
thinking
not
about,
voting is the
doing
only way
this
to make the change that you want to see in our society, right? This gentleman here, right? You don't want to vote as a form of maybe political dissidence.
I'm sorry?
Political dissidence being a way to act out or speak out against the
It
government,
could
right?
be
But there's
a
other
variety
ways
of things.
that you
It could be,
can
you
make
could
the change in your
focus on
society.
the transactional side, or you could focus on the litigation side. Personally,
Now
I
tell me
prefer not
what's
to
your
vote for,
idea
so
of
I
how
would
else
want
your
to
voice can be
focus
heard in
more
our
on the
society.
transactional side.
There's an example of it happening right now.
Et cetera, et cetera. Public speaking is not my strong suit.
Okay, be involved, right? Now, what does be involved mean for you guys?
You want to be an attorney for public.
This is something that could mean something different for everybody. When I was your age, I didn't know what being involved meant. So I'm interested in hearing. Go ahead.
I feel like being involved by taking the time to kind of to put effort into
Anybody have any opinion?
not saying, oh, you have to go all out,
For anyone who's interested in law school, whether it's undergrad
small
or
things
graduate,
what's
what's the hardest part? What can they expect to be like?
Okay, so finding, what I'm hearing from you is finding your purpose, finding your drive. Find something that you're passionate about, right? Don't speak out about the gun issue. Don't speak out about race relations if you don't think there's an issue, right? So find your thing and be passionate about it. Please go ahead.
Glorified version of high school. I mean, you go through the mental exercise, and it's more enlightening than high school, and you get to choose the areas that you want to focus in and learn about. However, it's the workload isn't very difficult or challenging compared to law school. Law school is where they will kick your butt. You will
So
have
do we believe as a group, and I see
10, 12 hours a day.
as a group, do we believe
Study.
that your Facebook posts or your social media posts
So how do you feel
have
about
the
that?
impact upon your peers that you wanted to have? It
It
does? Okay, please tell me why, and then I want to hear what your answer is.
Question. Could you define what do you mean in terms of how do I feel about politics?
Like when
What-
your opinions on the things that are going around. Yeah, like that. Like how do you feel about equal rights and
No, loud, please.
equality? There you go, equality.
You're saying that they rely on other people.
Yes, they're here. However, there's still
there's still a gap and divide underlying society. I feel like there's still that division there. It's unspoken, but it's still there.
Okay, so this is actually a conversation started with a question in this area, right? Comes back to, or comes down to a question of, is it your responsibility to educate yourself? Should you rely on somebody else to provide you the education, right? Okay, so if it's your responsibility to educate yourself, in what ways can you educate yourself? And I saw this gentleman say that earlier, so I want to see what you had to say.
Years for us to overcome.
She was saying,
They was not lesbian. They was lesbian.
in a small things.
The same, the kind of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court case. Christian
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I know lesbians on my picture.
It's a constitutional issue that's pending in Supreme Court.
So melting all readings, all 40s combined together is actually a
violation
a lesson that I didn't learn until I was much older, right? It's really beautifully challenging this conclusion on your own, but I don't know if you voiced it in your head the same way I'm
forced
allowed
to express
There's
or
what you have
recognize
is a sphere of
religion that
influence,
they don't
right?
have to. That's
You operate within your sphere of influence. For instance, okay, my sphere of influence might be my sister and my mom, because I'm like the head of our family, right? I've been the head of my family since I was 16. So when I say something, things happen in the family. My sphere of influence might not extend to my cousins. I can't have any impact on them. I might have a Facebook post they might look at, but it might not do anything to change their minds. So the question is, how do we increase our sphere of influence? One of the ways, like this gentleman said here with the nice shoes, okay, is you can make the change in your area. You can pick up the trash that you see on your street, right, to help the pollution issue. You can recycle in your home because you think it's going to lower carbon emissions and things like that. You can buy an electric car, right, and that's within your sphere of influence. And I think what you guys want to know, and what your brainstorming
Like, not so much
is how you can expand your sphere of influence, right?
If that makes sense.
Yes, I understand what your question is.
And my question is
Mind
this, and I like
how
to discuss it,
greatly,
but now you gotta bring the
because it
discussion
allows
back
you
to
to
where
see
it
the
started.
bigger picture. When you
How
have
does
a
this impact
newer perspective of a topic or issue, then you're only focused and
We're talking about a lot of good stuff
that
now.
one perspective. You
Apply.
cannot see
How can they apply what you're talking about?
the forest from the trees. You're focused on the tree itself. And especially if you consider going to law school, it helps to see the bigger picture because then you can see what the opposite side's argument is, and then you try to find ways to counter their argument to bolster your own argument.
I got two questions. How long have you been in law school?
My first year.
And the second one, what was the most recent part?
There are other things that you have to meet.
The most nervous part is probably the exams. Going in, because it's completely different from undergrad. Undergrad, you go in, it's probably, I think, it was 1 hour exams, 2 hour exams. And sometimes you get multiple choice, sometimes you get take-home essays, sometimes you get in-class essays. However, and it's a different type of format with law school.
Alright, so let's go
It's
back.
a 4 hour exam, essay, and they give you a fact pattern that's never seen before. So you could study for it, you basically can study for it, but you can't study for the exact fact pattern. And then it tests your analysis and understanding of the law and applying it to the new set of facts.
I feel like either she should have took it upon herself, not research, but because I don't feel like you don't have technology and stuff.
I would
Maybe
say
find
just
out, ask her,
experiment with the variety
process
of
of doing that before
fields
going
and
to
areas
if she
and
knew or found out, maybe issue
want to try the legal field, then you could always expose yourself to the legal field when you're in undergrad. It's easier to do so in undergrad than coming in to law school and then coming in and then finding out, oh, law school's not for me, and then immediately dropping out. That would be a waste of time, opportunity cost on your side, financially, and the opportunity costs.
What happened because it doesn't bring your psychology out of that, like mentally in the Native American, but what happened participated in?
I'm gonna end up building on these things that I'm hearing, if I can remember. But I wanna make sure we have.
So back to
I think it was always something that I wanted to do. I got mine, and I've done nonprofit work, and I was going to partake in also an internship with the DOJ in the voting rights. However, at the time, I didn't have citizenship, so it was a lot of process, and I didn't get through in time for the internship, so I ended up just doing nonprofit work over in DC.
Do you think this is just a thought? Maybe it's because we don't have enough Chinese speakers in our society, in our area, that we see papers. Because I know in New York, I would flip over the paper and I would see all sorts of different languages. There'd be multiple papers, some of them in Chinese. So I wonder if you guys study towards questions for myself depending upon the population in that area, maybe naturally provide at least to a certain level, naturally provide the different languages. That might be a thought to have on that. And if not, it sounds like a great law that you guys can try to implement and interact with.
Come a long way. I mean, there are still mechanisms that disenfranchise certain groups and population, and it's probably not as apparent as it was before. But there are ways to make your votes count less. Could be through gerrymandering, could be through.
So I guess we will say disenfranchising voters for being on this path. Can I see another?
Just by bringing that up, for us as a generation, what do you think would be best for us, like, to improve our society? Like, what do you think the steps we should take as this generation to better the generation for other generations? Like, within the law, like,
I think the first step is to, of course, educate yourself on the issues that you care about, and then exercising your vote, having your right to vote, and then
So my thought when I'm
putting
trying
in
to tie
place
these
the politicians who will represent
my question
because a lot of people,
the community that they live in, 500 square miles,
a political process.
Native American
There's a
reservation.
void in that. Somebody will always
They
fill
were
it.
denied voting rights, basic voting rights. And I heard
Elderly
things about
elderly is
increasing the spheres of
Their interests
influence.
may not
But
align.
then I also
with
heard
yours.
on the contrary,
So what
you know what, this is an
may
internal
not be
issue.
what they want.
Maybe they should just focus on them internally and then try to change what's going on in their community. That way they can have a bigger sphere of influence. And I heard somebody else say that, it might disenfranchise voters if we keep going down this path. So my question is, what would be a proper solution? Is it that the community should reach out and make other people care about their voting rights? Should they try to increase the amount of desire and passion to demand their voting rights within their own community?
Las Vegas,
And at what
I didn't want
point do we have to
to leave Las Vegas.
disenfranchise them and making them not want to vote? Right? So this is a question I think maybe you guys can ponder based on what you learned.
I think that maybe
which is
why, like, the change that they want. So you can't change anything, so you don't want your.
Where am I from?
Not only because.
I was from Canada, born from Canada, and then I moved here when
So maybe people care starts with them understanding that your change can start making the effort.
everyone have
So
any
what-
questions, opinions?
Absolutely. So one of the powerful ways, I think I had this conversation with the group outside, a powerful way of making your voice heard is
You guys, to the extent.
There's other ways.
Yeah, go ahead. You guys,
Outside of the courthouse, or the state capitol. Would that be based
No, but it seemed to come out so naturally. They just talked about oh wait, why did I get we really appreciate it. Can we give a round of applause? It's nice to be a teacher and be able to start out there and set you guys perspective. Make them time of day and all of I just think you're point our friend. If I know you can just say what you I think you could I get that I get more this is
We're waiting for direction, so we're gonna wait until y'all stop talking, so you can actually, I don't wanna say names, so you can actually hear, okay? All right, so.
All right, so before we, well done, fantastic, maybe we can give a hand for you all and for our fabulous students. So in a few minutes, we'll leave for the dining comments. I want to introduce Patrick Naranjo, who is from the intersection here on campus, to say a few words. Patrick?
Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Patrick Naranjo. I'm a tribal member from San Nicolás Pueblo and also a research major in American Indian Studies. I wanted to mention that because that's something that I find very important to me and what I do out of the intersection, which is UNLV's brand new academic multicultural resource center. Okay? The choice of the name, the intersection, was modeled after a legal paper from Professor Kimberly Crenshaw. We're going to be inviting her here to open the center in April. But the idea behind that was that all of our identities are comprised of various intersections, right? So just like I mentioned at the beginning, I am a Native American, but I'm also a scholar that's very well knowledgeable in American Indian Studies. Some of those two intersections, if you will, are very important to my identity. Some of those may be similar to other individuals, and some of those may communicate in differences here, right? Well, recently UNLV received the new #1 title for the most diverse institution in the nation, right? The idea behind modeling a multicultural center after Professor Crenshaw's intersectional framework is to validate your college experience here at UNLV wherever you identify your intersections, right? I'm also a male, I'm also a parent. Some of those things may be very relative to some of us. Some of us, we may not have an idea. This was our idea to best communicate diversity services for your college experience here. UNLV is a very diverse school. We're filled with a bunch of opportunities, different people, different things to research, right? And how would you feel comfortable pursuing these things as in a foreign place, right? College can sometimes be a frightening experience for some of us. So I wanted to give you the quick rundown about the center and what we are doing to meet the needs of our diverse population here in Nevada, but to also make you feel welcome and at home wherever you self-identify, right, within your intersection at your college experience here at UNLV. So I wanted to talk about that first. The idea that we're looking at is to craft resources, some of the more meaningful resources, right? Things that are important to your college life at UNLV. We're trying to place those behind a first generation perspective. So nobody who's ever been to college before can come and find some of the necessary resources to get started. I wanted to introduce an intern that we have here today and just let him speak a little bit about where he started here at UNLV and what he does here at the intersection with us.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There you go. My name is Michael Theodore. I'm a master's student in higher education here at UNLV. I graduated in May, so and also I'm a graduate assistant at Career Services. I help students with their resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, and even on the topic of career aspiration. So if you do choose to make UNLV your future home, which all of you will, right? Right? Come check out some of the campus resources here at UNLV. Career Services, Financial Aid, the intersection. And when it comes to the intersection, I chose the intersection because the title itself meant so much to me. Intersection to me means looking at stuff from multiple perspectives. Understanding what oppression looks like. Understand that oppression can be fed from racism, oppression can be fed from patriarchy, and all of it intermixed to create something that we need to understand a little better. Now, one of the things that I'm doing at the intersection is also looking at the homeless student population here at UNLV. This is by far one of the most impactful projects that I ever had the opportunity to work on. And this is for a requirement to fulfill my graduation here at UNLV in order to get my master's degree. And even though this is a requirement, this is such a meaningful journey that I'm on right now, such a meaningful experience. And one of the things I want to tell you is this: find your passion and major in it. Many times at UNLV, I'll come across students who don't know exactly what they want to do. That's okay. some people don't find their purpose 10, 20, 30 years from now. And that's okay because that's part of the process. That's part of the journey. So if you do come to UNLV, please seek out the intersection so we can have these conversations with you. Please seek out career services so we can help you on your path. We just want to help you out to the best of our abilities. And thank you for listening to this talk. Thank you for listening to some of my jokes and laughing at them as well. I appreciate it. And welcome to UNLV. And thank you for being you. I overheard some of these conversations that you all are having, and they were brilliant. And hearing the youth speak so brilliantly gives me motivation. I'm not saying that just to say it. I'm saying it because it's true. Thank you.
Guys, so I know I talked a lot about diversity and first generation and things like that, right? But the idea is that I too was once a freshman in college. Michael is as well, right? The idea is for us to make you feel comfortable as you come to this strange, diverse place, right? But you also feel comfortable coming here to the moot courtroom, becoming a lawyer, and being a successful leader here in our Southern Nevada community. So there's information right here in the front about the center. Please stop by. We're located in the Student Union on the first floor. My card is there, and you guys, I'm a resource here for you anytime. Please contact me with any questions you have, okay? Thank you.
And just to punctuate that, you all know my story. I was the first one to go to college in my family, and I want the same thing for each and every single one of you guys. And it will happen because that's what we do at Cheyenne. We lift everyone up. And being here today is a testament to what we do here at Cheyenne High School. We're so happy with this partnership with the UNLV Boyd School of Law. And Cheyenne High School teachers, thank you so much for all your hard work for making this happen and working with our students. Now, folks, here's what's about to happen. We're about to go over to the dining common. Now, we have to be counted into the dining common because someone has to pay the bill. Okay? Let me say that again. We have to be counted into the dining common because someone has to pay the bill. So you got to line up, and we're going to count everyone in so we can have an accounting of how many folks are in there. We are so fortunate that people care about us at Cheyenne, and they are paying for us to grow. So we're going to leave the place better than we found it, okay? And we're always going to say please and thank you. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Manners matter, as we always say. Folks, we're going to line up outside. Let's make sure.
Wait up.
Hold on 1 second. Listen up.
We are going to all sit in the same area. So that's all around the cafeteria. We're going to sit in the same area, okay? Okay, good. Let's rush the question. The whole cafeteria.
Going outside.
Yes, I'm with Dr. Clark of the room and the whole team, and I'm Steve Free.
just helping you move forward. And we just totally believe in that knowing we believe in you and Jess and Ivan, and just know the things that are going to come out of there. But we also are really something that could change and for that to happen. And so we think that if you being the leader in that room, that it would be really awesome if we can all get on the same page and just kind of chat about some stuff. And yeah, just if there's anything that we can do to better serve you and just change the dynamic in that room. And that's what we're excited about, is to just create a leadership intensive environment and to truly just set an example and to just change some things. I think it's going to be really great, and I know that was always good for us, was to not get stagnant to like the environments we were in, the books we were in, just everything we were doing, talking about not staying the same, but constantly moving forward. And we just feel like, okay, this room like, is amazing, and there's so much potential, it's just been the same for so long. And, you know, that's totally on us again as leaders, but we just need to kickstart something, and we just kind of want to game plan with you because it is routine. We don't want anything you hear to be like the first time in the room with everyone else. We think that you should, you know before everybody and be a part of the decision making and just be on the same page. So yeah, let us know if that's something that you want to do with your career, and if you would like to, what your availability is like Saturday and Sunday. We've got some pretty openness there in our schedule, so we look forward to just come and chat about things. Let us know. I'm glad that makes sense. Yes, it totally is confusing the name. That's happens to most people, but it makes sense. That's what we want to do. And to see. Sorry, I'm like up here.
No, it's fine. I was just like, what? Are you the Office of Admissions
Yeah.
Superintendent? Okay, I see you've already got everything set up just fine.
Yeah.
Did you need anything, any help? It seems like you got everything on the wraps.
Yeah, no, I think everything's good. I actually, now that you're going to check the sound at the end, but no, I got here early to make sure everything's set up. So, are you with Cheyenne or with the law school?
I'm at the law school and their night, well, one of their nights.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good. Let me just see the video again. I know, we do this a lot. So
Yeah.
Rebels take chances and inspire action. Roderick's are daring and diverse, curious and creative.
So everything seems to be good, taken care of then. Yeah. All right, I'll be back down at 11:30 for the student presentations. I just want to make sure that's good. And worst case scenario, the phone number to the help desk is on the school sheet. Okay, perfect. And Professor Anderson also has it. So and should we leave lights up the whole time? Yeah. Okay. We can turn them off, but there is no lower, unfortunately. Okay. So it's like on. Oh, that's fine. That's it. All right. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
2 hours with God, duking it out and figuring it out, and really grateful actually for reading that devotional along with you, for reading it, but I don't know why you started reading it, it wasn't for me, and as soon as we were talking about that, I was like, oh, this is going to be for you. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about it too, it is, it's not like you can go right along with His word, and it's just a choice that you make, and make it right in any situation that you're in. The best thing is that when you work with people and you don't have the status, and there have actually been their entire life and selling everything, doing everything they had to do and just not looking back on it. So I just really wanted to be able to continue to make and just look at the decision they made. As long as we use it as motivation, as long as we use it as fuel to build this and get it done, then it's all good. So hopefully we're just finding peace of mind with nothing else and the decision is to find that peace of mind that no matter what happens, it's all good. Can't make a wrong decision, no matter what happens, you can use it as motivation and ultimately it's done right. So I'm looking to stick to it.
Are you just standing up here?
I am, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here.
Take that time here. Okay, bye.
Yes.
I'm going back to my question. Yeah, but actually, you really be on the. No, we don't listen.
Girl, this baby ain't no joke.
How old are you? I did not take a break. I thought you were waiting like a second. You saw that?
I tripped up the stairs.
No,
of our admissions officers.
And I will just step away with you. Thank you so much. Awesome. Hi guys, how are you? Good. Having fun today? Yeah. Good day. It's cold out there. Unless you're not from Vegas, then you know it's not actually cold, but it is to us. Well, great. Well, my name is Layla Nix, and I am an admissions counselor here at UNLV. How many of you have met Melissa? She's your admissions counselor. Some of you? Okay, cool. So basically what I'm here today to talk about is really what it looks like to becoming a UNLV student. So I'll talk a little bit about UNLV in general. So obviously, walked around campus, seen some things, so here are the presentation. But hopefully this gives you just a broad overview of the university itself, and then really what it looks like to become a UNLV student. How many of you are planning on going to college? Most of the room. Awesome. And I know that's like a couple months away, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? It's a question you've been answering for a long time, like, yeah, I'll go. And it's like, well, that's like October you're going to be going, right? It's going to be crazy. How many of you are planning on actually attending UNLV? Got a good number of you? Okay, how many of you have not applied to UNLV yet but are planning on it? Oh, got a couple. Okay, so everyone's kind of across the board. All right. Awesome. Well, I'll chat about, like I said, UNLV in general, and then I'll talk about the application process, which it is pretty late in the game right now, I'll be honest with you, but hopefully we can just clear some things up, make sure everyone's on the same page, because really right now, where you guys are at in your senior year, it's really time to get the ball rolling and starting to make decisions. So, hopefully you're gathering all this information about everywhere it is that you're going. We happen to be here at UNLV, so we can talk about that specifically. Awesome. So, I myself graduated from here at UNLV, and one of my favorite things about it, and you may have noticed walking around campus or not, but UNLV is actually the #1 most diverse college campus in the entire United States. Like, #1 out of all the college campuses. That's really, really cool. Anyone not originally from Las Vegas in here? Lived elsewhere? What are some other places y'all lived? Louisiana, Georgia, Texas, where? Rhode Island? Virgin Island. Virgin Island. Oh, you win. Anyone do that?
Japan. Yes, I was wondering.
Awesome. Okay, right on. Well, very cool. So we got a really diverse room, which is pretty representative. And what's cool is go ask those people that somebody said like Louisiana, Georgia, go ask them if it's as diverse, right? We kind of take it for granted when we live here in Las Vegas. It's really cool the diversity that we have. So they basically break student populations based on ethnicity, religion, background, like whatever you can think of, and they determine like how diverse is the student body, #1. And then something to think about is, you know, what do you want the culture to be like where it is that you're going to go? And this room is a great example of that. Students coming from all over the world. So here, the larger the dot, the larger the population we have coming in from that country. So where do you guys see a lot of students coming from? Asia, China. Any guesses why we have a lot of Asian students?
You're smart.
Language? That's a good guess, yeah. Learn English, that's pretty common, yeah. Business, good guess. Anyone else? Yeah. Medicine? Actually, you're all being so stereotypical. I can say it, it's fine, yeah. Anything they want to, that's just whatever they want to write. No? So actually, most commonly, we don't realize this coming from Las Vegas, but most of our Asian students are actually coming to study hotel administration. Right? And we actually have the #1 hotel program in the entire world. So if you walk around campus, it's a brand new building on campus right over here, and we actually have the #1 in the world, which makes a lot of sense, I would hope so, right? And hotel and tourism is a huge industry in the Asian countries, and so they come all the way over here. It's a world-renowned university for them to study just that, which is pretty neat. Anyone in here interested in studying hotel, hospitality management, anything like that? Oh, a couple of you actually. Usually there's not many local from Las Vegas. So students coming from all over the world, specifically for that. then also students from all 50 states. So here, the darker the state, the higher the population we have coming in from that state. So what's the first highest?
Nevada.
Nevada, second is California. What do you think is the third?
Washington.
Washington is Hawaii. Somebody said it's actually Hawaii. Yeah, it's kind of a trick question. It's hard to see. So number one, out-of-state school is California. Second highest is actually Hawaii. And we have the highest population of Hawaiian students outside of the state of Hawaii, which is pretty neat. So the reason I like to point this out is what are two things that California and Hawaii are both really well known for? Beaches, right? So in general, like really great weather, right? What else are they known for? If you have any friends that moved here from California, why did they move here? It's cheaper, expensive, right? So California and Hawaii are both known for really awesome weather and for being really expensive. And so they all fled to Las Vegas because comparatively we have pretty great weather. It's not California, but it's pretty darn close. And it's really, really affordable. And so for those of you that are thinking of going out of state, bear in mind that there is out-of-state and in-state tuition. I know you guys all know that, right? So which one's way more expensive, in or out-of-state? Out-of-state. Does anyone actually know why out-of-state tuition is more expensive? Yeah.
Because of taxes that we don't pay for in-state, basically.
Exactly, because all of your parents pay taxes here in the state of Nevada, and since UNLV is publicly funded, you get a reduction in tuition because you're from this state. But since your parents don't pay taxes in any other of the 49 states, you pay full out-of-state tuition. And fun fact is that that's the only way that states can actually discriminate against where you're originally from. Think about it, if you moved to another state right now, they wouldn't treat you any differently since you're from Nevada other than the college tuition that you pay. And it's really, really significant, the difference. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But definitely thinking about demographically where it is that you want to end up is really important. And I was talking to everyone over here about some of the things y'all are interested in majoring in. It sounds like some of you are interested in law or urban affairs, kind of going that route, criminal justice, and some of you are all across the board, maybe you don't even know. So UNLV offers 350 degree programs, total over 250 undergraduate programs. So basically that's what you would start immediately after you graduate from high school. So does anyone have any questions about majors that we do and do not offer? You're not sure if we offer a major you're thinking of going into? Yes?
What about ecology?
So louder.
Ecology?
Ecology? Is that what you said? What does that specifically study of that you want to study?
Marine biology.
Marine biology, is that what you said? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we don't specifically offer marine biology, but what oftentimes our students will do is they'll get their bachelor's degree in bio, and then they'll go on, because marine biology is something where you can pursue graduate work very easily. Most of the students will go on and get a master's and PhD beyond that. So that's a good question. Anybody else? Awesome. So I won't stand up here and just list off all the majors that we offer, because that would take a very long time. However, it is also important to think about what you want to pursue if the graduate programs are in place. And I know you're in the stream, so obviously thinking about that. But depending on what you want to do, it's either going to require only your bachelor's degree, maybe a master's, maybe even a PhD. So you're going to want to make sure those programs are available. Now, UNLV does have the only dental and law schools in the entire state of Nevada. Anyone want to go to dental school? One, okay. Any future lawyers? Couple. What about medical school? Future doctors? Always everyone wants to be a doctor. Good for you. Okay, great. So we do have the only dental and law school in the state of Nevada, and UNLV actually opened the School of Medicine for the first time in history last year. So UNLV's never ever had a medical school before, but it opened just last year. We're really excited about it. It's located at our Shadow Lane campus, which is basically, if you know where UMC is, it's close to UMC. So the entire first class of students, was 60 students, they were fully funded, which means they went to medical school for free. You know, medical school is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the next 3 years of students, I believe 25% of those students are fully funded as well. And really the goal of the UNLV School of Medicine is to take Nevada high school students, just like all of you, to go to Nevada universities like UNLV, to go to medical school in Nevada to practice medicine here. So that is all available to you. That is really, really incredible. And there is in-state and out-of-state, even when it comes to programs like medical school. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. But knowing that now that's accessible right here in Las Vegas. And then all of the things that we do outside of the classroom. So absolutely, we build the foundation in the classroom at UNLV, but we want to give you experiences outside of the classroom. And this is a really great example of that. Getting out, getting hands-on, right? So whether that be study abroad, and who would like to do a study abroad program? Who would you study abroad if the money didn't matter? A lot more people, absolutely. So study abroad is an opportunity to go study in another country for a semester, a year. We even have programs as short as a couple of weeks. But UNLV is part of one of the largest study abroad programs in the entire nation. And we actually have agreements with all of these universities worldwide so that the tuition that you pay is actually exactly the same as your UNLV tuition or very comparable to it. And then we also have other opportunities for scholarships and funding to help to pay for your travel. And I've actually seen it happen where it was literally cheaper for a student to study abroad in another country than it was for them to live on campus and pay for tuition and stay at UNLV because of the scholarships that they got. So just keep those things in mind, and if you are going to stay here in Las Vegas, that's a great opportunity to get those other experiences, right? Being one of the most diverse college campuses, we not only want to bring international students in, but we want to send our students outside of these walls. Like this gal right here is studying, where is she at? She's in Paris. And all of her credits are counting towards UNLV. She's a UNLV student. She's just taking credits over there, sitting in classes in Paris. But all of her credits are counting, so that's a really good opportunity. I have a friend that's a local Las Vegas student, just like all of you. He actually came from a lower income home. He was full Pell Grant eligible, if you know what that means. Got additional UNLV grants, and he was studying international business. He thought he'd never be able to study abroad. But he was able to get additional scholarships and funding, and he went to study for an entire semester in London, England, and he loved it. He got more funding, he went for another semester, so he ended up spending 1 full year of his undergraduate in London, and he got a ton of connections, and an employer actually offered to pay for his visa, and now he studies, he works over in London, England now. Which is really, really cool. And you never thought that would be possible. So just know that staying right here in Las Vegas, you can have those opportunities. And then the middle two are projects actually specific to engineering. Anyone here want to go into engineering of any sort? Got a couple here and there? Okay, awesome. So these are, engineering gets all like the really cool, fun, hands-on projects. So the second one is a robot that UNLV developed for the United States Department of Defense robotics competition called DARPA. We developed this robot that we competed against top universities across the nation, and we actually ended up placing 7th overall in the whole competition, which is really saying something. To give you perspective, we placed above the Defense Ministry of Japan, and I think they know a thing or two about robotics. So really, really cool, and that robot can start a car, drive a car, open the door to a building, walk up a staircase, and ultimately we want to design them to act in disaster-type situations. We actually partner with the military to be able to help them with advanced technologies, and you get a hands-on, right, experience with all of that. The third one, you may have heard her, Haley Dawson, but she actually dropped the puck at the Golden Knights game recently. Last year she threw out the starting pitch at the World Series game for baseball, and this is her at one of the games, and UNLV 3D printed her a robotic hand. So that's a project that our students were working on. So the reason I highlight those is you're going to want to look at where you're going, is that they are going to have really neat sounding projects, but you want to make sure undergraduates actually get a hand in on that. And then of course internships. One really nice thing about staying here locally is you'll have the opportunity to work while you go to school, which is really what employers are looking for. If you've got a degree from a really nice sounding university but no work experience versus somebody that has work experience, the employer's always going to look at that, and that's what's nice about staying here in town. And then all the fun stuff. So all the traditions and organizations that we have here at UNLV. So a lot of times students who are from Las Vegas will use UNLV is you never leave Las Vegas. You've heard that before? Yeah, we've heard before too. But realize that how many students are at Cheyenne? Anyone know? 2,000?
150.
Oh. And he counts all the absences today too, so it's impressive. So, about 2,100. UNLV has about 30,000 students. So it's more than 10 times the size of your high school. So if you don't want to see anyone from high school, you won't. If you want to get involved, you can. Right? And so we've got fraternities and sororities. You probably saw some of them out. It's a little chilly today, but some of them were tabling today. Philanthropic organizations, so much to get involved in to really make college a completely different experience than it was from high school, but that's really up to you, right? Or athletics. Anyone ever been to a Running Rebels basketball game? They're really fun. We've been voted to have one of the best student sections in the nation. This is that picture on the far right are heads of performers in the valley that they hold up to distract by the three-point line of the other team. So all that being said, you can have a lot of fun as well, because college is about that too. And then this is a slide that we put up for our out-of-state students who think there's nothing here other than the Strip. I'm sure you've had that conversation. People ask like what hotel you live in when you're from Vegas. Oh yeah, we've all had that happen before. And then these are all the facilities that we have on place. But basically, at this point, you guys are really making that transition and that jump from being a high school student to very, very soon being a college student. And it's anyone kind of scared of that, like a little bit nervous about it? She's like, I'll admit it for everybody. Yes, absolutely. So we know that you're 18 years old, This is your first experience, so we want to make sure you know that you're going to be supported, right? Our goal is for you to be successful, for you to truly finish your degree. In order to do so, you're going to need to make sure you have the support that you need. So we have free tutoring all over campus. We have a writing center. We have a math tutoring center. Basically, there's never a reason to be failing classes or to be struggling or floundering, because there's always, always help for you. You just have to make sure that you're willing to go out and actually find it and access it. So next one I'm going to go through is really quickly is the application process. I'm going to go very quickly because most of you should have already gone through this process, and you should be in communication with your admissions counselor where you're at. For those of you that haven't applied, now is the time. So quick swift kick to your rear, I'll say, is if you guys haven't really begun to make your decisions and your plans for college, now is the time to do it. You're actually behind a little bit, but there is time. But if you wait a little bit longer, then you're basically going to miss your shot. And what I see that happens for students that miss their shot is they end up either not going to college at all, or you have to sit out for 1 full year and just sit back, try to work, kick back into being a student again when all your friends are in college, and we don't want you to do that, right? We want you to get started right away. So for those of you that haven't applied, these are admission requirements. So you have to meet one of these 4 requirements in order to be admitted to UNLV as a freshman. So you either have to have a 3.0 weighted core GPA, so that's a B average core GPA, or one of those test scores, or the Nevada Advanced Diploma. If you don't meet one of those requirements, you're not admissible. So if you're looking at these and you're like, man, I don't have a 3.0 and that's not what I got in the SATs or ACTs, guess what? You have a couple more months to retake your SAT and ACT. That's basically your last chance if your GPA is not coming up. So any questions about this? Pretty straightforward. If you are like, I don't know if I'm admissible, I want to apply, but I don't know if I'd be admitted, or if the $60 application fee is a barrier to applying, please reach out to us. We'll get you in contact with Melissa, your admissions counselor, and she can actually do a quick check, let you know if you are admissible before you apply. And then for those of you, if you know that you're currently not admissible to UNLV, but you do want to come here in the future and maybe start somewhere like CSN, keep in mind that on the right is what you will need when you're coming in from there. So you basically need a 2.5 GPA from your transcript when you transfer, so whether that's CSN or anywhere else that you choose to go, that's what you're going to want to maintain. And so the cost. So let's get down to it, right? So UNLV in-state tuition, as you can see here, is right around $6,000 a year. Can you see what out-of-state is? It's $20,000. So all those states and all those countries that I showed you before, simply because you graduate from Cheyenne High School, you pay $6,000. Everyone else pays $20,000. That's pretty crazy, right? yeah, that's crazy. So keep that in mind as you are applying out of state and you're getting excited about going out of state. That's awesome. If you get in, if you get the scholarship, more power to you. We want you to go where you want to go. However, it's important to be aware of how much college costs. And if UNLV out-of-state tuition is $20,000 a year, what do you think it is for all those other schools you're looking at all over the country, right? So it's important to start looking at that. Something else that is important to keep in mind when it comes to going out-of-state is a huge additional cost, and that's living, right? Because here, I know you're like, I just want to get out of my mom's house. Trust me, you're going to miss her. You're going to go back because your laundry is going to be all wrong. Somebody say no. But when you live on campus at UNLV, and incoming freshmen that are from out of state are required to live on campus, it's an additional $10,000 a year. So they pay basically tuition is $20,000, living on campus is $10,000, so they pay $30,000 a year, and you pay $6,000. That's pretty crazy, right? So definitely keep all that in mind. If you're looking at other colleges, make sure you know what is a total cost of attendance. So let's talk about how we bring that cost down. So these are our freshman grid scholarships. I'm not going to go too much into this because for those of you that have applied, you should know if you've been awarded these scholarships or not already. If you don't know and you're unsure, reach out to Melissa because there is a process that you may need to go through for verification, something like that. So basically all these scholarships have already been awarded for this school year. If you feel like you're eligible for any of these scholarships, you have a high GPA, you have a high test score, but you haven't applied yet, come talk to us because it may be worthwhile for you to actually sit out so that you can be awarded these scholarships in the future. So these are the freshman scholarships. And then, is anybody unaware of Millennium, the requirements of that and how that works? Okay, so most of you are aware of this, but Millennium is basically only offered to in-state students when you stay in-state. So you can only use it in-state institutions. The requirements are 3.25 GPA or 21 ACT, which is pretty low, or as you can see, your 1070 on your SAT. You can see the requirements. And so that is basically a $10,000 scholarship over the course of 4 years. It pays maximum at UNLV, so it actually pays you more at UNLV than it does somewhere like CSN. And it maxes out at $2,400 per year, so it brings your out-of-state cost to less than $5,000 a year. And remember I told you how much out-of-state was? $20,000 plus living on campus. It's pretty crazy to think about that. And I understand that $5,000 is a lot more than free for high school, but when it comes to university, that's extremely, extremely low cost. And then I'll skip past all of these. These are for out-of-state students. And the last thing is deadlines. So for those of you that have not applied yet, our absolute final cutoff deadline for fall 2018 is July 1st of this year. So that means you do still have some time. However, financial aid scholarships are all awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. Priority deadline was November 1st of last year. So priority deadline was November 1st of last year. That means at this point in the game, you're pretty late. However, like I said, we can still help you, so make sure you're on top of those. And the last thing is the FAFSA. Anyone totally unaware of FAFSA and how that works? Okay, with me. So FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. You should have already done it. If you have not done so, make sure you do. If you're not eligible to complete the FAFSA because your doctor undocumented, we do have an internal FAFSA. It's called alternate need form. Make sure you talk to us so you can complete that and receive grants from the university. But you should also already know what your FAFSA award package looks like. If you're like, this doesn't make any sense, I have no idea what that is, make sure you reach out to us so we can explain it to you, right? Because at this point in the game, you should be aware. So, back to the video.
Rebels take chances and inspire action. Rebels are daring and diverse, curious and creative. Rebels are different, and in our differences, we come together to discover, to innovate, to succeed in a community like no other. We are UNLV. We are Rebels, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Awesome. That's all I have for you guys. That was pretty quick. Any questions for me? All right, great. Have fun rest of your day.
Thank you so much. This office partners with us each year for this event, and we really appreciate it. It is now my tremendous honor to introduce the Dean of our law school, Dean Dan Hamilton. He is also the man who makes sure that there are funds for this event to take place, for the buses, for the food, and otherwise. He's a great dean, and you should reach out to him and come to law school.
That's right. Good morning. Thank you, Diana. Thank you to your teachers and the principal, and of course, Professor Anderson. It is a wonderful event that we host every year, and we're glad to see you here. And what I like to tell people, thanks to our student leaders from Balsa and elsewhere, and thanks to people about to register to vote, I understand. Good. There's no more important topic right now than voting rights and your role in our democracy. I'm glad we're talking about that here today. That's what this law school is here for, to help serve Nevada and help serve the people of Nevada. This is your law school. This is your state law school. And you're very fortunate to be in a state that has one of the top public law schools in the country, which is where you are sitting right now. And I hope you do think about going to law school. I know it feels a long way off. It'll be here before you know it. So I hope you will consider UNLV Law School. There are some law schools that are a value, that are affordable, that are accessible. There are some law schools that are top quality law schools in this country. There are very few that are both. And you're sitting in one right now. You're sitting in one of the few schools in the country that accomplishes both goals. And law school is not out of reach. There has never been a better time to go to law school than right now. So in other words, the power is in the hands of the applicants. We're all competing now for top JD applicants. That's what you will be. We have terrific students from all over Clark County School District, all over the state. So I want you to be in touch with me, Dan Hamilton. I'm here at the law school. I'm easy to find. I'm going to volunteer Professor Anderson, if you're interested in law school, to please reach out to her. We'll reach out to you. And if you have any questions that develop, let me know. We have equally, maybe even more aggressive scholarship program than the undergrad operation. So we want to make sure that it's accessible and affordable for great Nevadans who are doing the kind of important work you're doing today and taking the time to learn about democracy, to take part in democracy. So my main message is thank you. I do want to, have you met Caleb before?
Yeah.
No, good. Caleb is Exhibit A. Are you glad you came to law school?
I am.
Caleb is an incredible student leader, and you too can follow in Caleb's footsteps. So, good to have you here. Have a great day. Thank you, sir. And thank you all.
So we have a surprise treat for you. We're going to have just a short presentation on registering to vote, and we have a team here of both community organization and UNLV undergrads who, if you would like to register to vote, don't feel obliged, but if you would like to, we'll hand out the form, they'll give you the information, and if you'd like to register to vote now or later, you can, but you'll have the information on how you do that. I'll hand off.
Hello everyone, we're very excited to be here. Thank you for having us. We heard there are some high school seniors here and you were like, let's register them to vote. We are with Next Gen Nevada. We're a nonpartisan political organization here in the state. We have our fellows here with us. They are students here at UNLV. We have Brandon, Vera, Aaliyah, and Joe. We all would like to register you to vote today. If you have already registered, awesome. If you have not, or if you have changed your address, want to change your party affiliation, or you have changed your name at all, then you should definitely re-register to vote with us. Just some of the qualifications so you know before we hand out these voter registration forms. You have to be 18 on or before November 6th, 2018. So even if you're 17 right now, but you will be 18 on or before November 6th, you can register to vote. You also need to be a citizen of the United States. So if you are undocumented or a DACA recipient, unfortunately we cannot register you here today. But we do have some fellows ourselves who are DACA recipients out there registering people to vote because we understand the importance of being able to use our votes and use our voices in this democracy, right? So we do need you to meet those qualifications. Also, we need you to know if you have your driver's license, identification card, or at least know the last four of your social to successfully register to vote. I'm going to have Joe, Aaliyah, Vera, and Brandon come up right now and just hand out these forms. But I'll go over it real quick. It may seem a little mundane, but this is a legal document, so I want to make sure that we're being very careful.
I'm just going to Yeah, just put a stash on each one. That way they can.
For sure. We'll just send it out to everyone. If you've already registered to vote, we'll collect the forms back from you, but you can just leave it to the side. Wow. So before I have you all fill those out, I just want to go over these boxes real quick. So they're required boxes. The first one is number 1. There are 2 questions if you are a citizen and if you will be 18 on or before November 6th. Box 2 is not required, it's optional. Box 3 is with your full name, your full legal name. 4 is your home street address. Number 5, you only need to fill out if your mailing address is different than your home address. And then number 6 is your place of birth, the state or country, right? So if you were born in Nevada, you just put Nevada. If you were born in Canada or Mexico, you put Canada or Mexico. Almost done. So box number 7 is your birth date.
Hey, you have to listen.
Thank you. Box number 7 is your birth date. That's just the date that you were born. Box number 8 is that very important one where you need to know the last four of your social or have your driver's license or identification card. Box number 10 is very important. Please only mark one party unless or else it will be invalid, unfortunately. So only one party. Box number 11 is where you signed, and that date right there in box number 11 is
questions?
If you guys have questions, just raise your hand.
Okay, if you're not filling out the forms, this is not your talking time. This is not your talking time. Or if you fill out the forms, fill them out. If you're not, would you please sit, be quiet, and wait?
If anyone doesn't fill it out, just send it back. I'm with you. Thanks.
I really did. For the one time. I'm not sick of that. You know.
No, I just really want to make sure that
I will walk.
Is there a required regard that I have for them? Is there a required limit of regards that I have for the site?
Right now, we're doing up to 6 weeks.
It's only blue or black ink, so if anyone else is signing in red or pink or baby blue, we'll give you another form. Okay, blue or black ink only. Are y'all?
L222. 5380222. L22201. I want to vote now. Are you not going to vote?
That's just.
We have about 2 minutes more, and then we're going to try to transition to the presentations. Could you hand down your papers to the collectors? We're going to start the presentations in just a moment. How many people need 30 more seconds? How many people? Okay, about one. Anybody else need 30 more seconds? 2. Anybody else? Okay, 3, 4. Okay, so I got people need 30 more seconds.
That way if there's any problems, we can call you and fix it, okay? Make sure your phone number's on your comments. It's optional, but we can't contact you.
So everyone should have handed in their form by now, except for the 4 people who said that they needed 30 more seconds. If you still need more time and you're not in the front row or along the edge here where you could just, hand it to the person, you should move over there. Anyone who has a form that needs to be picked up, could you raise your hand, please?
So right now, guys, here's the situation. So right now, what we want to do is make sure we have adequate time for everyone. I'm so happy that everyone is registered to vote because you know how important we believe voting is at Cheyenne High School and in North Las Vegas. So if you need some more time, everyone, you can go ahead and just step outside and finish. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get rolling. So please make sure you give the presenters your full attention. Mr. Armstrong's class, you now have the floor. Ms. Mel, give them a round of applause. Give them a applause, y'all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Darlene Ramirez, and these are my partners. Hi, my name is Mark.
Hi, I'm DeMarc as well.
And my name is Amber Neal. And today we will be presenting the court case for Superintendent versus voting rights, basically. And we're doing it as a news report.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to CNR. I'm Hannah Schwartz, and we are just outside the polling station getting ready to
you mind going on? How's your experience getting here?
You see, I ended up on the you picked Native American reservation, and despite the fact that the reservation is 500 square miles, and the closest voting station is this, which is 50 miles away from the reservation.
Wow, very sorry for that. Well, do you mind telling us what happened when you got here?
Well, when I came here, 3 elders from our reservation, with 3 elders from our reservation, and when we got there, we saw someone taking pictures. Now, I'm not sure if that's allowed, but we didn't think much of it.
Well, despite your setbacks, did you guys at least get a chance to vote?
Well, when we got in line, we reached the front, they had us show our ID. 2 of the elders didn't have it, so they couldn't vote, which confused me since I didn't believe that we needed our ID to vote, since we're all registered with our tribe.
That seems really questionable. Can you touch more on that for us?
So only 1 elder was allowed to vote. However, she struggled greatly while voting. She speaks our native tongue, being music, and they do not have a union voting station or ballot on the translator, or a translator that would allow me to assist in translation.
Well, I'm no expert, but from listening to your story, I can pick up on a few issues. I think that it's very wrong that despite the size of the reservation, the closest voting station was 50 miles away, and then after that long drive, 2 of your elders were turned away and the 3rd was denied assistance. I just think all these factors could turn off voters, or just all around hinder the voting process. Lucky for us, we have our political experts to help us with the situation.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. I think first we should look at a little bit of history behind Native American voting. You see, through the 15th Amendment passed in 1870, granted all U.S. citizens the rights to vote, regardless of race. However, it wasn't until the Snyder Act of 1924 that Native Americans could enjoy the rights granted by this amendment. Even with the passing of this citizenship bill, Native Americans were still prevented from participating in elections because of the Constitution, because the Constitution left it up to the states to decide who has the right to vote. After over 40 years and much disenfranchisement, all 50 states finally allowed Native Americans to vote. Even with the lawful right to vote in every state, Native Americans suffered from the same mechanisms and strategies, such as poll taxes, literacy tests, fraud, and intimidation that kept African Americans from exercising that right. So it wasn't really until 1965, with the passage of the Voting Rights Act and subsequent legislations in 1970, 1975, and 1982, that voting protections were reaffirmed and strengthened.
In the first issue presented, Carissa Burnett did not have access to a polling station within 50 miles of her 500-mile-wide reservation. A reservation in itself is like a town and should therefore be treated as such in terms of providing an easily accessible polling station or provide public transportation for the people who are unable to reach the polling place, as 3 of the elders in Carissa's tribe were. Nevada Revised Statute 293C.269 prohibits any videotaping or photographing of voting conducted by the general public. Upon arrival, Carissa noticed a person taking pictures of the voters in line. This is clearly a violation of the Nevada Revised Statute. Another issue presented includes the 2 out of 3 elders that were unable to vote because they could not supply a driver's license or tribal ID card. The ballot used was only translated from English to Spanish, which brings up another issue that Carissa and her elders faced. Nevada Revised Statute 293C.282 requires assistance to voters who are physically unable to read or write English. The poll worker denied the elder assistance when faced with the language barrier. Nevada Revised Statute 243.2546, Clause 9, declares non-discriminatory action against a minority group. Among the other Nevada Revised statutes violated, the overall case violates this one. Since the late 1800s, Native Americans faced roadblock after roadblock when it came to voting. These statutes are put into place to prevent any form of discrimination and to prevent the violation of basic human rights. So why are they not being enforced or even followed? Thank you.
Great job. So we're going to have a transition for the next group. Fantastic job being listeners. Give us one moment to get set up. on, give us some love, y'all.
Hi guys and gals, this is a group of fine AP students who have been working. We did the voters' rights stuff, we had read the 3 case studies, and then we ventured a bit beyond that, and Kiara, Caitlin, Nick, and Alexis have structured a little debate on a voting rights issue that is pretty interesting and you may or may not know about. So without further ado, see you in the show.
Voters' rights are under attack in the United States. This is evidenced by, though not limited to, the disenfranchisement of felons, with special attention given to those felons who have served full sentences.
According to the Sentencing Project, a program working for a fair and effective U.S. criminal justice system, it's estimated that over 6.1 million parolees and felons will be forbidden from voting in the upcoming elections. Of those 6.1 million, it is estimated that 75% are no longer inmates. In 12 of the most extreme states, the rights of felons to vote can be restricted even after the person has served his or her sentence.
If the judicial system has pronounced these individuals free men and women, shouldn't they enjoy the rights that accompany that title? Sadly, states, including our own, are allowed to restrict or even deny the voting rights of rehabilitated free men and women. This is clearly an attack on voters' rights and cannot be ignored.
Now, Kiara, you mentioned that felons, often violent criminals, are having their voting rights attacked. But I have to ask you, are you familiar with the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution?
Yes.
Then you are aware that Section 2 of Amendment 14 grants the states the right to create laws restricting voting rights to individuals who are guilty of rebellion or other crimes.
Yes.
Does this not make felon voting restrictions a legal right of the states?
Well,
Doesn't it seem a bit strange to claim that states should give up their constitutional right in order to give felons a right which they themselves freely gave up through their criminal actions? Lastly, on a practical note, would you want someone who robbed your home, stole your identity, or even possibly killed a friend or family member, regardless of how long they have served, electing your president? No further questions.
Despite what Kiara and Caitlin may likely believe, voters' rights are well protected in the United States thanks to a variety of constitutional amendments and NRS provisions specifically designed to protect the rights of Americans and abandoned citizens.
The U.S. has a long history of battling for voting justice. The 15th Amendment gave African Americans the right to vote, the 19th women, and the 26th extended that right to 18-year-olds, who could be asked to fight and die for this country. Amidst the history of progress, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 became federal law, which disallowed any state the right to deny or abridge the right of any citizen to vote on account of race or color. This act reaffirms the 15th Amendment in defense of universal suffrage and binding authority over all states.
As Nick mentioned earlier, this is an issue of state rights, not felon rights. It's also an issue of justice. In democracy, a just government is directly dependent on a just voting population. Caitlin, would you be okay with having only felons elect our representatives?
Well, no.
Then I assume that your logic must boil down to believe that the vote of law-abiding men and women will help to drown out the felon votes, somehow making it less dangerous. You are asking for a watered-down justice in the name equality for criminals, and law-abiding citizens pay the price.
Race, sex, and age have all been sources of inequality in this country. These have been the issues through which universal suffrage has been expanded to become more just. Let's not just take a step backwards by undermining legitimate state laws that prevent a murderer or rapist from voting and having the same voice in our government as honest men and women.
Now, Alexis, you had a lot to say about democracy and justice. But let me ask you this. Should a person who has been charged with, say, jaywalking or speeding lose their right to vote?
No, that's absurd.
Well, if we're talking logic and we follow your line of reasoning, then it seems that only perfectly just citizens should be allowed to vote.
Well, not exactly.
Have you ever read any of the Federalist Papers, in particular James Madison's Federalist 51?
Yes.
Then you may be familiar with his famous line, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. Alexis, do you know any angels, any perfect people?
No.
Exactly. And our democracy isn't made of perfect people. You have set an impossible standard. If a perfectly just person doesn't exist, I think it's hardly fair to use justice as the lone standard for who deserves to vote. Justice has been served when felons serve their time. Or when Alexis, it may be worth mentioning the racial issues this presents. Well, when you consider that almost 8% of African Americans can't vote because of felony charges, compared to only 1.9 of non-white citizens, it's definitely a race issue. This affects African Americans at a 4 times greater rate. This isn't just disproportionality, it's discrimination.
And Nick, you mentioned that your vote will be equated to that of a lot of murderers and rapists.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the facts. Did you know that murder and rape make up only a minority of felony charges in the U.S.?
Okay.
Do you know what percent of the voting population in Nevada alone is disenfranchised because of felony charges?
Not the exact.
It's around 4%, or approximately 89,000 people. Alexis, would it be fair to say that one of the primary purposes of a democratic government is to be representative? Yes. Are primary purposes of a democratic government, are these 89,000 Nevadans fairly represented if they can't vote?
We have established that people aren't perfect and that democracies are meant to represent the people. So why is it hard to admit that democracies ought to represent all the imperfect people that make them up? Denying free, rehabilitated men and women who have served their sentences and paid to society the right to vote because of a stigma attached to a felon label is both discriminatory and, if we're honest, a threat to the representative nature of our democracy. Mind you, there is a long history of people being denied the right to vote in this country because of labels, stigmas, and stereotypes attached to them and their past. And our democracy is all the stronger since they have joined the franchise. We want to carry on this tradition of equality, representation that earned a straight and not earned a democracy.
Caitlin, you're twisting my argument. I'm not saying that only white people should vote, but I do believe that there are rational limits. For example, the First Amendment protects your speech rights, but you don't have the right to yell, "I have a bomb" in an airport. The ability to consume alcohol is protected by your 21st Amendment, yet state laws require you to be 21. You have the right to vote, but not when you have murdered, raped, or stolen. This is simply a rational limit on rights. Like many others, we safeguard our democracy and justice.
And I would like to reiterate that states maintain a legitimate constitutional right through the 14th Amendment to deny the right of criminals to vote. To set rational limits, the privilege of voting should be reserved for law-abiding citizens of this country. It would be an injustice to revoke a state's constitutional right in order to recover the rights that criminals have willingly denied themselves. I ask again, would you want a murderer elected your president?
Nick, need I remind you that your state's rights argument has been used to both disenfranchise African Americans through poll taxes and to segregate schools. States lost these rights through Supreme Court decisions and amendments. When states abuse their rights, they lose them. When states discriminate by using their power to disenfranchise free men and women, they ought to lose that power.
Look, those are the most extreme cases.
No, that is what this is. States foster discrimination. This is not about rational limits on rights. It's discriminatory attack on voter rights through arbitrary distinctions. Free means free. The type of felon describes a person's past, but if free is their current status, why shouldn't these men and women be treated with the dignity that accompanies their status and be given the right to vote?
We can all agree that voting is imperative to democracy.
And by extension, voter rights must be protected.
In this debate, we have tried to address the fundamental question of who deserves to vote.
We know where we stand, but what do you think?
The fine students in Mr. Armstrong's class. We've heard from the fine students in Mr. Combs' class. And now we're about to hear from the fine students in Ms. Hober's class. So let's give them a minute to set up. And we're going to be great listeners. Yes.
Hola. Hola. Oh.
All right, and now we're going to turn it over to Ms. Hogan. Give her a round of applause, y'all.
Kind of innovative, I guess, for this space. It's going to be bilingual. These are the English language learning students in the government class. So bear with us a little bit. It took a lot of courage for them to do what they're about to do, speaking English in public. So this is the first time, so just support them and let's hear about it.
Hola, buenos días.
Buenos días.
Me presento, mi nombre es Alexis Yair González. Venimos en representación de Cheyenne High School. Estamos aquí con mis compañeros para presentar un tema, el derecho de los votantes. Bueno, en esta ocasión les propondremos un caso particular y en el proceso determinaremos qué leyes amparan a los votantes tanto a nivel estatal como federal. Y examinaremos los derechos que han sido violados en este caso especial. A continuación, mi compañera Stephanie les presentará una pequeña presentación animada referente a nuestro tema.
Good morning, my name is Mercy and I will be interpreting for my friend Alexis. We are here representing Cheyenne High School together with my classmates. We will be talking about voter rights. At this time, we will be presenting a specific case and we will establish which laws protect the voters on both the state and federal levels. We will also examine if any of these laws have been violated. Next, my classmate Stephanie will present a short animation related to the cast and home.
A continuación hablaré sobre el caso. Susan es una joven de 19 años que está por votar por primera vez en su elección presidencial. Luego de investigar tanto si está registrada para votar como el lugar de votación y recopilar información para tomar una decisión informada el día de la elección, Susan asiste al precinto junto a su tía, a quien le ayudará con su barrera idiomática, ya que ella habla muy poco inglés. Susan quiso poder votar a través de una boleta provisional, de modo de no tener que ausentarse de su trabajo, pero el oficial de registro le dijo que esto no iba a ser posible. El plan era que el hermano de Susan asistiera con ellas, pero su propio empleador no lo dejó ausentarse del trabajo, de modo que ellas dos solas asistieron a votar. Les llevó un poco más de lo previsto, ya que Susan debió corroborar que estuvieran en el precinto correcto, ya que ella no aparecía en la lista. Lo que también sucedió y les demoró fue que la tía Maribel tuvo que esperar bastante tiempo su turno para poder utilizar la única máquina bilingüe que había en el precinto. Tarde pero felices se fueron luego de ejercer su deber cívico. I will now be addressing the case. Susan is a 19-year-old young girl who will cast her vote for the first time in a presidential election. After doing some research in regards to her voter registration, as well as her polling place and gathering information to make an informed choice, Susan attends to cast her vote together with her aunt Maribel. She will be helping her with her English language barrier. In order not to miss days at work, Susan wanted to vote via provisional ballot, but the registrar's office told her this was not going to be possible. The plan was for Susan's brother to also go with them, but his employer denied him time to miss work. Therefore, only the two of them attended the polls. Casting their votes took a little longer than expected due to the fact that Susan needed to verify that she was at the right polling place because she was not showing on the list. The fact that her aunt had to wait a long time to be able to cast her votes also delayed the process. The issue was that there was only one machine on the polling station and many Spanish-speaking people. Late but happy, they left the polling station after casting the votes.
Tenemos varios temas para considerar en este caso. El primero de ellas es el tema de la boleta provisional y el hecho que ésta le fue denegada a Susan. La segunda instancia es el tema de poder absentarse en el trabajo con el fin de ir a ejercer la responsabilidad cívica durante una elección presidencial. Finalmente debemos explorar los derechos de aquellos votantes que tienen inglés como segundo idioma y que además se sienten más seguros utilizando su lengua natal. We need to address several issues at the time of considering this case. First of all, we have the issues about the provisional ballot and the fact that Susan got her request denied. Second, the matter regarding leaving the workplace in order to fulfill a civic duty during a presidential election. Finally, we need to explore the rights to those brothers who have English as a second language, and additionally, they feel better using their mother tongue in this type of instances.
Los estatus revisados de Nevada tratan el tema de la boleta provisional en el título 24, capítulo 293, artículo 3081. En este caso, el oficial del registro estaba en lo correcto al negarle el voto provisional a Susan, ya que, según la ley, la persona debe completar una petición por escrito ante el oficial en el lugar de la votación. The Nevada Rights statutes deal with the topic of provisional ballot on its Title 24, Chapter 293, Article 3081. In this case, the register officer was correct at the time of denying the provisional ballot to Susan because, according to the law, the person must complete a written petition before an election officer of the polling station. Los estatutos revisados de Nevada tratan el tema de la posibilidad de ejercer la responsabilidad cívica durante el horario laboral. El título 24, capítulo 293, artículo 463, claramente especifica bajo qué circunstancias un empleado puede retirarse de su trabajo para poder presentarse en su precinto electoral. El hecho es que el jefe del hermano de Susana no lo dejó retirarse para ejercer su deber cívico, viola su derecho civil como votante, siempre que la solicitud se ha hecho antes del día de la votación. La sanción del emperador será considerada como una falta.
The Nevada Rights statutes address the topic of attendance to polling station during a presidential election within working hours. Title 24, Chapter 293, Article 463 clearly states under what circumstances an employee is allowed to leave his or her place of work in order to cast a vote in the mentioned type of election. The fact that Susan's brother's boss did not allow him to leave his workplace to cast his vote violates his civil right to vote as long as he has requested such permission before the day of the election. The penalty for the employer will be judged as a misdemeanor.
Los estatutos revisados de Nevada tratan el tema de habilitar y asistir a los votantes que hablan un idioma diferente del inglés. El título 24, capítulo 293, artículo 2699, se refiere a la ley federal según lo estipulado en el Código Legal de Estados Unidos en su título 42, sección AA 1A del año 1973, la cual trata los requisitos electorales bilingües. La ley federal establece que los materiales de votación, inclusive la boleta de votación, deben estar en el idioma de la comunidad minoritaria, siempre que más del 5% de los ciudadanos habilitados para votar en el Estado sean miembros de la comunidad en cuestión y tengan una barrera idiomática, o así más de 10,000 ciudadanos habilitados para votar de la comunidad en cuestión tengan una barrera idiomática. Según las investigaciones del Pew Research Center, el año de 2016 hay 328,000 hispanos habilitados para votar en el estado de Nevada. El 68.1% de los hispanos en el estado hablan español en casa y 68.5% no hablan inglés en casa. We need to receive status, address the matter of assisting voters whose mother tongue is other than English. Title 24, Chapter 293, Article 2699 refers to the federal law in accordance with the United States Code Title 42, Section AA 180 from the 1973 is entitled Bilingual Election Requirements. The federal law establishes that all voting materials, including ballots, that shall be in the language of the minority community is allowed 5%. Of those individuals allowed to vote in the states are, in fact, members of the minority community, as have a language barrier or is more than 10,000 eligible voters. With them is mentioned group have a language barrier. According with data issues with the Pew Research Center 2016, there are 328,000 people of Hispanic ethnicity eligible to vote in the state of Nevada. 68.1% of Hispanic in the state speak Spanish at home, and 68.5% do not speak English at home.
Hemos llegado a la conclusión de nuestro trabajo y en la opinión de nuestro grupo recomendamos para las próximas votaciones considerar la cantidad de hispanos hablantes e incluir más máquinas de votación para así acelerar el proceso de esta. Dicho esto, agradecemos su atención. Muchas gracias. At this point, our group recommends that for the next election, the Secretary of the State should consider the amount of Spanish-speaking individuals in Nevada, and particularly in the city of Las Vegas, in order to provide the appropriate amounts of bilingual and multilingual voting machines and or language assistance in order not to delay to the process and comply with the individual voting right. Having said this, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
We're going to go to Caleb first, and then to Professor Sonia Watson, who heads up our low-income tax clinic.
Thank you, Professor Anderson. My name is Caleb Green. I'm a second-year law student here. I just wanted to commend all the presenters today. You all did an excellent job, as well as thanking each of you to come into UNLV today. I hope you all learned a lot about UNLV, the campus, the law school, and I hope to see some of you either as undergrad students or as law students here in the future. So thank you all for coming and allowing us to be able to get to know you all a little bit more and introduce you all to the UNLV community.
Well, I'm Professor Watson. I want to echo what Caleb said. You all did a very excellent job. And I want to also give a few remarks about each of your presentations. So for Mr. Armstrong's class, Ms. Schwartz, you did a great job at being a reporter, and Claretta Burnett, you did an excellent job at highlighting the issues, and then the other two, you all did a great job at presenting the facts and the law. And then so for group 2, Mr. Crumb's class, Kiara, Caitlin, Dick, and Alexis, you all did a very good job at presenting to us the difference between fairness and justice. A lot of times we think that fairness and justice go hand in hand, but you guys showed to us that sometimes it doesn't, right? Nick, you and Alexis showed us that justice in some cases means following the letter of the law, and you other two showed us that justice sometimes can mean what's right. Fairness means what's right, even regardless of the law. And then for group 3, Ms. Hobart's class, Zaire Gonzalez, you did a great job introducing, and then also, yo hablo un poco español. Y por eso, Gonzalez, tú hablas bien despacio, entonces yo comprendo tu español muy bien. Y los otros estudiantes hablan muy rápido, entonces yo necesito estudiar mucho español para entender. Y todos usamos el tecnológico y eso fue bien para nosotros entendernos mejor. Y finally, también los hicimos mucho bien presentando la ley.
They said it all. Thank you for coming to the law school and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.